I'm sitting here in my office, and as you can see behind me, there are several boxes of filled with. They're actually filled with journals. I started keeping a journal when I was about 14, and when I was 20, 25, around 25, I did a ceremonial burn and released all the journals. And since that time, I've been keeping a journal again, and and I've been keeping them and putting them in these boxes. And recently, I've gone through just a huge purge in my life. Like, I've had so many changes in my life this year, and I just was like, I'm going through everything. And I went through all my books, my clothes, my files, my kitchen stuff. I've gone through everything, and I just released so much stuff. And in that process, I unearthed all these boxes of journals, and I've decided I'm letting them go. I'm getting ready for a ceremonial burn, and I'm gonna let go of all these journals. You know, I think that, a couple of times, over time, I've been like, oh, I wish I'd kept my journals when I was 14, 15, and read what I wrote. What was I going through, and how was I perceiving it? But, honestly, not, I don't need to have all that hanging around. It's just, I've already done the work, I've already done the process. But something I've observed is, I've just kind of grazed over the journals, and I kind of, as I'm going through them, maybe I'll open one and randomly and, see what I was doing at a certain point in time, but see what I was thinking and feeling and how I was processing things. And I've noticed that I've always been at some point in the grieving process. And I'm starting to understand that we're always in the grieving process in life at some point. There's, what do they say? There's the five stages: um, denial and isolation, anger, uh, bargaining, um, sadness, depression, and then acceptance. And that we're always at some point in grieving something. Like, we may have come to acceptance in one area of our life, in one circumstance, in one situation, and then we might be at the anger point in another. And I think sometimes, when you come out of something really tumultuous, you're like, oh, beginning, middle, and one day it'll be over, but really it's like everything's kind of interacting, um, multidimensionally, like when we're letting go of one thing, we're mad about something else, and, we're depressed about this thing, but we're completely clear and accepting of another. And my mind is really expanded around the just around the I want to say the idea of grieving, just the experience of grieving. So a couple of years ago, I in all my, in my grieving process, I started collecting my tears in this little container. When I'd remember, I'd cry, and I'd like, I'm still doing it. Whenever I cry, I try to remember, oh, got to collect some tears. And of course they dry out in here. So it's not like it's just all this liquid or something. It's like they get in there and then they kind of get dry. But for some reason I thought, I want to mix some paint in this, and mix the paint with my tears. And I it's really interesting because at the very beginning of the project, the woman the sister friend that I'd had the big problem with, and smashed the mask, we've actually come full circle, and we've become friends again, and we've sorted it out, and we're good. We've found peace together. So, some relationships can really heal. And I think at the time, I was really like post-traumatic stress, I was just like really, really hypersensitive. And, but that whole situation, it kicked off the exorcism, right? So anyway, she's I love masks, you know, I really do. I love painting faces, and I just love masks. And so she gives me masks here and there. So anyway, I find it kind of interesting that, you know, she's given me, you know, she had given me the mask that I smashed, and then she gave me this mask. And what I'm going to do, this is kind of fascinating, I think. I'm not smashing this mask. I'm going to collage the mask, and I'm going to collage it with my tears and whatever, you know, paper and product I put on there. And I'm going to create a face, you know, my own, a face of my own design. And it's kind of neat because it came with these little ribbons, and I like to wear extensions in my hair sometimes. So this kind of reminds me of me a little bit. And there's only 4 ribbons, so I'm going to have to add one because I was thinking, oh, they could each symbolize a place on the grieving journey. And anyway, and you know, I thought, wow, how interesting. At the very, you know, at the very end, I'll have this collaged. It'll be a face that's been created with my tears, and I'm gonna put that there because that will be the, you know, like we had a shattering, but it's like the new self coming forward, and the new self grew out of loss and sadness and hurt, you know, all that letting go and shedding and recreating and inventing that I've been doing. And that's how it's going to come together. So anyway, I'm going to be working on that. It'll look totally different. This is what it looks like underneath. It's kind of neat. You know, she's got, you know, pretty red lips and little stars all around her face. But I feel like I want to reinvent the mask and personalize it. And then, you know, just put it here, the coming together of myself, you know, in this whole process. So anyway, grieving, you know, we're all at different phases of grieving. You know, sometimes it's heavy duty, roaring, wrenching grieving, and sometimes it's just kind of longing and sad, and then sometimes there's just a release, a letting go. So, you know, grieving, it's part of being alive. You know, nobody gets singled out. We all grieve. Everybody grieves. You know, everybody grieves. Everybody hurts. You know.